Have you ever walked into a room and felt the whole energy shift without saying a word, without needing anyone to look at you, yet somehow they do? You used to walk in hoping someone would notice you. You wanted eyes to land on you. You wanted to feel seen, wanted, chosen. There was a time you spoke a little louder, moved a little faster, smiled a little wider, not out of ease, but out of fear that if you didn't, you might be invisible. You used to reach outward with your energy, trying to be impressive, trying to be accepted, trying to earn the attention you believed you had to fight for. But not anymore. Something inside you has changed. Something deep, quiet, solid. Now, when you enter a room, you don't ask for attention. You pull it without a single word. You no longer walk in hoping to be seen. You arrive already grounded in the knowing that you are. You don't raise your voice, and you don't move quickly, but eyes still find you. People still turn toward you. Their attention slowly settles on you, not because of what you do, but because of what you no longer need to do. You used to burn for approval. You used to spill your sexual energy everywhere, trying to be enough, trying to be chosen. You used to search the room, looking for someone who would see the fire in you and say, "Yes, you." That fire was wild. It was bright. But it wasn't contained. It leaked. It reached. It begged. But now, that same fire hasn't gone out. It has gone in. It has become calm. It has become still. It has become something that doesn't rush or scream or grab. It waits. And in that waiting, it becomes undeniable. Your energy no longer demands. It invites. And what makes you magnetic now isn't how much you show. It's how deeply you hold. You no longer perform to be noticed. You don't decorate yourself to be valuable. You've stopped trying to prove that you're enough. You have finally remembered that you already are. And now, everything about your presence tells that story. She feels it first, before she knows why, before her mind can find words. It's not about your looks, though something about your posture has changed. It's not about your words, though every time you speak now, it feels measured, purposeful, electric. What pulls her in is not what's visible, it's what's felt. It's the quiet intensity under your skin, the invisible pressure of a man who no longer leaks energy, but contains it, the steady rhythm of someone who no longer chases, but draws. You've stopped trying to be desirable, and in doing so, you've become irresistible. You've stopped reaching for approval, and in doing so, people reach for you. Your sexual energy is no longer something you throw at the world hoping it sticks. Now it lives inside you like a flame behind glass, seen, but not spilled, warm, but not wild. It is the heat of a man who knows who he is. You've become the kind of presence that changes the temperature of a room. People lean closer, not because you called them, but because your energy gives them permission to relax, to trust, to be drawn in without pressure. You don't feel silence anymore because you're no longer afraid of it. You let silence speak, and it does, loudly. It tells the room that you are not here to prove, you are here to be. That's what makes you different now. You are no longer interesting. You are compelling. And compelling isn't something you can pretend to be. It's not about tricks or charm or cleverness. It's about depth, stillness, truth. You've stopped performing, and people can feel the difference. You no longer want to be the center of attention. You've become the center of gravity. She notices it when you don't look away, when you don't fidget, when you're not trying to impress her with stories or compliments. She notices the way your gaze stays still, the way your energy doesn't reach, doesn't grab. It holds, it listens, it allows. And that's what drives her wild, not because you say what she wants to hear, but because your presence tells her the truth. I see you. I don't need you. But if you choose to come closer, you will be met with fire that does not burn you, only warms you. You're not loud anymore, but you are powerful. You don't roar to prove your presence. You don't chase women to feel masculine. You don't reach to feel needed. You have become still, and in that stillness, you have become strong. Your masculinity is no longer something you wear like armor. It's something you carry quietly, like a sword that never needs to be drawn unless invited. Other men try to imitate it. They copy the stance, the voice, the stillness, but they miss the point. Gravity isn't performance. It's truth. You don't become magnetic by pretending. You become magnetic by being, by holding your energy instead of spilling it, by knowing your own worth so deeply that you don't need anyone else to reflect it back to you. She feels it when she speaks to you, not in your responses, but in your pauses, in the way you don't rush to speak, in the way you wait, in the way your attention feels full and present, not scattered or desperate. That presence says everything without saying anything. It makes her feel like she is the only woman in the world, not because you flatter her, but because you are actually there, fully, without agenda. You used to think strength was about doing more. Now you know it's about being more, being present, being aware, being still. You don't reach anymore because you've learned something deeper. Your presence is enough. You've stopped asking to be seen. You've started simply existing in a way that can't be ignored. She may laugh with others. She may be surrounded by voices, by charm, by noise. But something in her changes when she gets close to you. Her breath slows. Her shoulders soften. Her body relaxes. Not because you touched her, but because she felt your stillness, your calm, your power, and that changes everything. She keeps thinking about you, not because you impressed her, but because you didn't try to. You gave her space. You didn't interrupt it. You didn't fill it. You let her come to you. And because she came by choice, she stays by desire. This is not manipulation. This is not a strategy. This is not a performance. This is truth. You don't move to be seen. You are seen because you no longer move from hunger. You move from fullness. You move from purpose. You move from peace. That peace is rare. That peace is attractive. That peace is power. You don't speak to be heard anymore. You speak only when you feel it matters. And when you do, people listen because they can feel the energy behind your voice. You're no longer noisy. You're powerful. You don't flirt to be liked. You don't grab for attention. You simply are. And your being is magnetic. She's met men who wanted her body. She's met men who needed her praise. She's met men who tried to consume her beauty for their own validation. But you don't want her to complete you. You want her to feel what it's like to stand beside someone who already is. You've become the kind of man who doesn't take, doesn't rush, doesn't force. You wait, you listen, you offer, you invite, and your invitation is silent, but impossible to ignore. Now, she doesn't want you because of what you give her. She wants you because of how you make her feel in herself, because your energy doesn't chase, it awakens. Your restraint isn't cold, it's sacred. It tells her, I know how powerful I am. I know what I carry. I offer it only when it is wanted, never before. And that discipline, that control, that quiet strength, that is what makes you unforgettable. That is what leaves a mark long after you've gone. Because your energy does not fade. It lingers. It stays. It imprints. It pulls her back into the memory of your presence again and again. Not because you asked to be remembered, but because you became the kind of man no one forgets. You are no longer a man who walks in trying to impress. You are a man who walks in already whole. You're not trying to be chosen. You've become the one who chooses. Not by force, not with noise, but with the deep, silent power of someone who finally, fully knows who he is. And that chosen one is why you don't chase anything anymore. Because now, everything real begins to come to you. She used to hide behind a locked door, afraid to slow down, to feel, to open up. But when you showed up, you didn't try to break that door down. You didn't push. You didn't chase. You simply arrived with presence, with stillness. And that presence lingered, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. You didn't ask for anything from her. You listened with your body, not just your ears. You saw her without needing to own her. And that's what made you unforgettable. She doesn't remember you because you impressed her. She remembers you because you didn't try to. You became the kind of man who didn't need to be noticed to be felt. Your energy stayed behind like a soft echo. Not loud, not dramatic, just full. You didn't pull her in. You gave her space to come back to herself. And now, without knowing why, she's drawn to you. Not because you chased her, but because you didn't. You became the one who didn't need to prove anything. And that is rare. You no longer walk into rooms trying to be seen. You don't perform. You don't overtalk. But your presence changes the room. Your stillness speaks. Your silence is full of meaning. Your energy, once wild or scattered, now gathers in you like quiet thunder. You don't explode, you hold. And that pressure, that quiet power, pulls people in without effort. She feels it. She doesn't hear you call, but she feels summoned, because your stillness carries everything you didn't say. You've become the storm that doesn't have to strike to be known, the fire that warms instead of burns, the calm that steadies others. You don't act powerful, you're power. Rested, grounded, whole. And it shows in the way you move, in the way you breathe, in the way you look at her, not as a conquest, but as someone you already see clearly. That's what makes her feel safe. You've stopped needing to be enough. You simply are. And now your energy doesn't ask for love, it reveals it. You walk with a quiet certainty that doesn't beg to be noticed, but shifts everything without trying. She sees it in how you never flinch, never shrink, never chase. You don't flirt to win. You don't touch to impress. You don't speak to compete. You arrive and you remain. And in that stillness, she feels undone. Not because you take from her, but because you reflect her back to herself. She's used to men who try too hard, but you don't. You've already become. You don't chase connection. You uncover it. You don't project desire. You reflect it. And in your calm, steady way, you make her feel sacred again. That's what happens when a man becomes whole. He becomes the place others come to rest. You've become that place. Even your silence now is full of promise. You don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need attention to be attractive. You don't need to dominate to be remembered. And she feels more like herself around you than she ever did around anyone who tried to win her. But even now, you must protect this power. Suppression may come back, not loudly, but softly, in distractions, in comfort, in people who want your presence but not your truth. Don't give your energy to places that don't honor it. Don't shrink to stay liked. Your essence is rare. Guard it like it's sacred, because it is. Sometimes the voice trying to dim your light comes from within. Old fears, old pain. But remember, those who are meant for your light will never ask you to hide. Let the rest go. Stay clear. Stay still. Stay full. And remember to rest. Even your flame needs time to breathe. You aren't saved to burn out. You are saved to shine steady. Everything you've walked through, rejection, silence, pain, brought you here. You're not becoming anymore. You've become. And now, you don't need to be seen. You only need to remain true to who you are. That's what makes you untouchable. That's what makes you unforgettable.
What if your kindness was never the problem, but your lack of boundaries was? What if the very light that makes you special is also what makes you a target in a world that feeds on the soft-hearted? Have you ever wondered why the more good you do, the more broken you feel? Why the more you give, the more some people try to take? Why the purer your heart, the heavier your battles? If these questions hit something deep inside you, if they stir something you can't explain, then this message is meant for you. This is not just another reminder to stay strong. This is your wake-up call to stop being the light that waits, to become the fire that leads. There comes a moment in the life of every chosen one when everything begins to change. A moment when gentleness is no longer enough. When forgiveness, as holy as it is, has to take a step back so boundaries can stand guard. A moment when you're beautiful. Soft light must stop glowing quietly and start burning like a sword made of divine fire. All your life, you've been taught that kindness is your power, and it is. But now you're seeing the truth that no one warned you about. In a world like this, light that doesn't know how to fight is light that gets swallowed. You've been told to be patient, to be good, to turn the other cheek, and you've done it. Over and over. You've loved people who didn't love you back. You've forgiven people who never said sorry. You've stood by others when no one stood for you. You've cried silently while pretending to be strong. And now you're tired. Not just in your body, but in your spirit, in your soul. And you're starting to see that being good in this world comes at a cost that chosen ones know too well. The more open your heart is, the more you attract people who want to steal from it. The more you try to heal others, the more you get hurt. And still, even after all that, you haven't stopped shining. That's what makes you divine. But now it's time for something to shift, because spiritual warfare is not a poetic phrase. It's a real battle. Every day, every moment, between what you carry and what tries to steal it, between what you believe and what tries to break it, between who you are and what the world tells you to be. And if you're someone who feels deeply, sees things others don't, and carries a purpose you can't quite explain, then you've already been in this battle, whether you knew it or not. The world isn't set up to support people like you. It's built to confuse you, to tire you out, to make you question your goodness. But here's the truth. God hasn't abandoned you. He's been preparing you, strengthening you, teaching you to stop being prey and start becoming power. And if this message found you when you were about to give up, when your heart felt too heavy, when your soul was begging for a sign, this is it. You are not weak because you're tired. You are powerful because you're still here, still standing, still breathing. And your next level? It's not coming through more wishing. It's coming through rising, through fire, through fierce clarity, through choices that say, I am no longer here to be used. I am here to be honored. This is your turning point. This is the moment you remember. Your light was never meant to bow. It was meant to blaze. And from this moment forward, the world will see that you are no longer soft in the places that made you suffer. There comes a moment in your life when something deep inside you shifts. You can feel it in your spirit, even before anything changes on the outside. It's like your soul starts waking up from a long sleep. You don't even fully understand it, but you know things will never be the same. Your energy begins to change. You stop attracting chaos and start calling in peace. You stop chasing people and start pulling in alignment. And without even trying, you begin to draw in divine opportunities, people who feel like home, and experiences that carry purpose. You start realizing that the problems showing up in your life aren't just random anymore. They're not here to distract you. They're here to shape you. They are battles. Yes, but they are sacred ones. Spiritual battles meant to prepare you for what's coming. And for the first time, you're not fighting just to survive. You're fighting to become strong, steady, grounded, and awake. This time, you're not begging the storm to stop. You're learning how to walk through it with your head held high and your soul on fire. You begin to realize that your purpose is too big for small limits. You can't carry a powerful destiny with paper-thin boundaries. That truth becomes clearer and clearer every time your energy is drained by people who don't deserve access to you. You can't keep letting people into your sacred space just because you're kind. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't sent here to live a life of quiet frustration or pretend everything is fine when your soul is screaming for more. No, you were sent here to break things, to break patterns, break chains, break generational wounds that have lived in your bloodline for far too long. You are not just another face in the crowd. You are a spiritual earthquake. You are the answer to a prayer someone made 100 years ago. But that kind of calling needs protection. It needs fire. It needs boundaries that are firm and clear. Because when your boundaries are weak, your purpose becomes blurry. Your light dims. Your spirit becomes tired. People come into your life, not to love you, but to take from you your peace, your time, your energy, your voice. And slowly, you begin to forget who you are. That's why you have to be ruthless with your peace. Not cruel, not cold, just clear. You need to guard your spirit like it's the most valuable treasure on earth, because it is. If you don't protect your energy, someone else will come and use it for their gain. If you burn out, your mission burns with you, and you've come too far for that. You've cried too many tears to let yourself fall back into the hands of people who never saw your worth. You owe it to yourself now to say no without guilt, to rest without explanation, to protect your joy like it's holy ground, because it is. The world won't reward you just because you suffered. It won't honor you just because you were silent in your pain. The tears you cried in secret, the nights you couldn't sleep, the days you kept showing up with a broken heart, all of it mattered. It changed you. It shaped you. But pain alone is not why you're here. You weren't born to bleed forever. You weren't sent here to wear your suffering like a badge. You were sent here to become something greater because of it. The reward isn't in how long you stayed down. It's in how powerfully you got back up. You are not here to drown in what hurt you. You're here to rise and build something unbreakable with the pieces. You may think you'll be blessed just because you've endured. But the truth is, you'll be blessed when you become someone who can protect the blessing. Anyone can survive, but not everyone builds. Not everyone transforms. Not everyone turns pain into purpose. That's what makes you different. You're not here to just keep going. You're here to rise higher. The world won't kneel at your wounds, but it will bow to your strength. Not the fake kind, not the pretend smile, the real strength, the quiet, unshakable, ruthless strength that says, I may have been broken, but I will never be destroyed. Being ruthless doesn't mean being hard. It means being holy in a different way. It means refusing to give your light to those who only bring darkness. It means being wise enough to stop bleeding for people who never tried to heal you. It means standing up even when everything in you wants to lie down. It means saying, enough, when your soul is tired of carrying other people's weight. You can still be kind and not allow disrespect. You can still be gentle and say no. You can still be full of love and protect your light. Because softness alone won't protect your destiny. You need strength, too. Ruthless, steady, spiritual strength. Your heart has always been big. You love deeply. You care endlessly. And while that's beautiful, it has also been the doorway for your pain. You've loved people who used your kindness against you. You've stayed in situations hoping your love would be enough to change them. You've given chance after chance, even when it hurt. And the reason it hurts so much is because your love is real. But love without wisdom is a trap. Love without truth is dangerous. And when the enemy sees that your love has no boundaries, it becomes the very weapon used to break you. People know how to stay in your life when you let them walk all over your heart. Toxic partners, fake friends, family who manipulate you. They stay because they know you won't leave, because you've made your love bigger than your peace. But that cycle has to break now. You cannot keep betraying yourself in the name of loyalty. Ruthlessness in love means seeing clearly. It means loving only where love is safe, giving only where your soul is protected, staying only where your spirit can breathe. Because divine love is not confusing. It does not leave you drained, lost, or empty. Real love feels like home. It feels like clarity. It feels like peace. And if it doesn't feel like that, it's not divine. You were not chosen to be destroyed by love. You were chosen to rise in love. You were chosen to carry the kind of love that builds, not breaks, that heals, not harms, that lifts you up, not pulls you under. But you have to start choosing yourself. You have to become the kind of person who refuses to lose their soul in the name of saving others. Because if you keep giving your love to people who only take, you'll end up hollow. And God did not choose you for that. He chose you to become, not to disappear. And the enemy? He doesn't fear soft prayers. He doesn't fear people who pretend to be light but don't walk in truth. He doesn't fear people who cry but never rise. No, the enemy fears the ruthless chosen ones, the ones who walked through fire and came back with holy power, the ones who are no longer begging for peace. They are commanding it. The ones who stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. The ones who stopped apologizing for shining. The ones who set boundaries like firewalls and dare the enemy to cross them. The enemy fears the warrior who carries scars like badges of honor. The one who forgives but never forgets who they are. The one who loves with open hands, not chains. The one who walks with heaven in their voice and thunder in their footsteps. That's you. That's who you're becoming. And that's why the darkness is trying so hard to distract you, lie to you, and pull you back into the shadows. But it's not going to work, because you're remembering who you are. You're waking up. And when you rise, when you truly rise, every lie that tried to destroy you falls. Every demon that tried to stop you trembles. You were not born for weakness. You were not sent here to live in pity. You are not here to be protected from life. You are here to walk through life with power. You are here to carry the kind of strength that leaves a legacy. You are here to be the one your ancestors prayed for, the one who ends the pain, the one who says, "It ends with me," the one who breaks the chains, the one who builds something new. And yes, it's hard, The pain was real. The betrayals were sharp. The silence almost crushed you. But you cannot hold your crown if your head stays bowed. You cannot lead with your light if you keep hiding behind the wounds. Victimhood may feel safe, but it is still a cage. And you were born to be free. Not just free in body, free in soul. You were made to run wild with purpose, to walk boldly into your calling, to look darkness in the eye and say, "Not today." Ruthlessness is not coldness. It's clarity. It's the decision to rise when staying broken would be easier. It's choosing to protect your spirit even if others call you selfish. It's knowing that your peace matters more than anyone's opinion. It's becoming the storm while still carrying the calm. The roar behind the silence. The fire behind the smile. The sword behind the softness. You're not here to be small. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to fulfill a destiny that shakes the earth. You're here to speak, to build, to break old systems, to rise like fire from ash. And if this message is touching your soul, if something inside you is stirring, if tears are rising and you don't even know why, that's not random. That's your spirit saying, yes. That's your confirmation. That's your wake-up call. You didn't come across this message by accident. You were meant to hear these words. You were meant to rise, to change, to break out of the cage you were never meant to live in. Your softness is holy, but your ruthlessness, that's sacred fire. And that's how you win. And never forget this. Your soul is sacred. Your energy is, and your time here is not a mistake. Now act like it.
What if the most powerful thing about you isn't what people see, but what they feel when you enter the room? What if your presence speaks louder than your words, and your energy tells a story no one can quite explain, but no one can ignore? Chosen one, this is that moment. You're not just someone others notice anymore. You're someone they sense. Your beauty is no longer something that lives on your skin. It's something sacred that rises from within. Something God has slowly uncovered, piece by piece, through every fire you walked through, every temptation you resisted, every time you chose stillness over noise. This transformation didn't happen overnight. You didn't wake up and become this grounded, radiant version of yourself. You walked through misunderstanding, through seasons of silence, through days where your intensity made others uncomfortable. People called you too much, too quiet, too serious. And yet you didn't let their words define you. You didn't bend to fit into their expectations. You stayed true. You kept listening to the voice of God when it would have been easier to chase validation. You didn't waste your energy on things that didn't honor your purpose. You let yourself be refined, not rushed. And now that fire you once struggled to carry so quietly burns within you, not out of control, but calm, steady, deeply powerful. What people feel when they're around you now is not charm. It's not style. It's not performance. It's peace. It's presence. It's order. Women especially will feel this shift. They won't always understand it, but they will respond to it. Some will pause mid-sentence. Some will smile without knowing why. Some will feel seen in your silence and safe in your gaze. It won't be because of what you say. It will be because of who you've become. You no longer carry the energy of a man who needs attention. You carry the energy of a man who gives attention without needing anything in return. You don't demand respect. You embody it. This month, you will feel the change. People will connect with you more easily. Eyes will hold yours longer. Conversations will open without effort. But it won't feel overwhelming or flashy. It will feel earned. It will feel real. Because you're not trying to be anything. You're simply aligned. Your beauty isn't borrowed. It isn't an illusion. It's the visible proof that your soul and spirit are finally in harmony. It's the quiet light that now surrounds you, not because you forced it, but because you allowed yourself to grow into it. Let yourself be seen, not for attention, but for purpose. You've become beautiful not in the way the world defines it, but in the way that truly matters. You radiate warmth without weakness, power without pressure, sensuality without selfishness. And that kind of beauty isn't loud. It's felt. It lingers in the air long after you've left the room. It calms the heart. It opens the soul. It reminds the feminine what it feels like to rest in the presence of a man who is whole. You didn't just glow up, you grew up. You didn't just style your appearance, you surrendered your spirit. And now that sacred glow, that calm force of energy, that depth in your silence, it's all working through you in ways no one can replicate. Because this isn't a trend. This isn't a phase. This is the man God has been preparing in secret. And now, without you trying, the world will begin to respond. Quietly, deeply, consistently. Because this kind of energy cannot be ignored. It cannot be faked. It can only be felt. This month, something very real and powerful is rising in you, and you don't even need to try to show it. It's not about speaking more, doing more, or changing your appearance. It's deeper than that. What's happening in you is the result of everything you've walked through in silence. It's the outcome of your pain, your inner battles, your moments of quiet growth, and the many times you chose self-control over chaos. You've changed, not in ways the world can always see with the eyes, but in ways the soul cannot ignore. And now, without asking for it, without chasing it, you're starting to notice that people, especially women, feel something different when they're near you. Women don't know exactly what it is at first. They might not be able to describe it, but they feel it. Before you even speak, your presence says something to them. It reaches into places they forgot they had. It softens places that had grown cold. It calls something old and sacred back to life. You don't need to impress them. You don't need to say clever things. You don't need to perform or pretend, because the man you've become now speaks without words. The quiet strength you carry says enough. You walk into a room and something changes. You don't rush conversations, but people slow down around you. You don't force eye contact, but your gaze makes people pause. You don't need to touch anyone to make them feel safe. Your energy does that now. This is the kind of charisma that doesn't demand attention. It simply is attention. It's not the charm that comes from trying too hard. It's the light that shines because it can't help but glow. You've become that light. You've become that steady warmth that draws people in, not because they're being chased, but because they feel free in your presence. Women respond to that in ways they don't even understand at first. They may smile longer than usual. They may laugh in a way that's more real. They might pause in the middle of a sentence, sensing something in you that feels rare and deeply grounding. It won't be because you're trying to seduce or entertain. It'll be because your energy feels safe, calm, and strong all at once. This is what happens when a man learns how to carry his sexual energy with discipline. There was a time you felt pulled in many directions, like your fire might spill over at any moment. There was a time when your desires ran ahead of your wisdom. But you've matured. You've learned to say no when needed. You've stopped giving your energy to places that could not hold it. You stopped scattering your essence and started holding it with care. That didn't take away your power. It sharpened it. It didn't weaken your edge. It became your edge. And now, your presence doesn't just glow, it holds weight. It has depth. It has gravity. You didn't become quiet because you lost your voice. You became quiet because you no longer need to prove anything. You didn't become still because you gave up the fire. You became still because you finally learned how to contain it. You are no longer a man trying to be seen. You are a man who knows who he is, even when no one is watching. And that kind of self-possession radiates. It creates a field around you, a field that people feel without needing to name it. Your voice is no longer just sound. It's a feeling. Your gaze is no longer a question. It's an anchor. Your presence is no longer something you offer. It's something people remember, not for its volume, but for its clarity. And that's why, without knowing how, women are drawn to you this month in ways they weren't before. They may say things like, "There's something different about you," or "I feel peaceful when I'm around you." They may not be able to explain why they want to stay in your company, why their voice softens, or why their heart opens. But something in them recognizes something in you, not from the mind, but from the soul. They aren't just reacting to your appearance. They're responding to your discipline, to your depth, to the stillness you carry inside. You don't glow because you want people to notice. You glow because you've earned the right to be still. You've told yourself the truth so many times, in silence, in pain, in solitude. And now the truth has settled into your bones. You've taken your energy, which could have easily been wasted, and instead of letting it control you, you shaped it. You gave it order. You turned your wildness into wisdom, your high energy into calm authority, your scattered fire into focused light. That kind of inner work rarely gets praised, but now it's becoming visible. Now it shows in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you sit, the way you simply are. What once felt like pressure in your chest is now softness in your tone. What once made you impulsive is now felt as calm control. The same fire that made you restless has become a quiet command. You don't try to lead, but others feel stronger around you. You don't raise your voice, but your words are heard more clearly than ever before. This isn't the kind of beauty that fades. It's not the kind that's polished or filtered or borrowed from trends. It's the kind that's forged in fire. It's the kind that's shaped in silence. It's the kind that doesn't ask to be admired. It's the kind that people trust. It's not just physical. It's spiritual. It's not the glow of a man who wants something. It's the radiance of a man who has become something. This kind of beauty can't be copied. It can't be taught. It comes from telling the truth to yourself over and over until the lies fall away and only your real self remains. That's what people feel now. They feel you. Your discipline has made you beautiful, not just to the eye, but to the soul. And now that you carry this kind of presence, the way women experience you changes. You don't push. You don't pull. You don't perform. You don't chase. You remain. And in your remaining, they soften. They breathe easier. They feel safe, not because you've promised safety, but because your energy proves it. They don't feel rushed. They don't feel like they have to please you. They don't feel like they're being watched or judged. They feel like they can simply be. Your presence doesn't take anything. It gives. It builds. It calls forward. It doesn't pressure. It invites. It doesn't consume. It calms. And because of that, you don't just attract people. You awaken them. You don't just get attention. You remind others of what they've forgotten. Especially women who are used to being seen for what they can give, what they can do, or how they look. Around you, they feel something different. They feel remembered. They feel honored. They feel seen in a way that doesn't take anything from them. It gives them back to themselves. Your high sexual energy doesn't shout anymore. It hums quietly through your being. It flows like a warm current, strong but not forceful. It calls out to others, not with noise, but with truth. And that's why people don't understand why they feel so much around you. It's not your words. It's not your look. It's not something they can describe, but their body knows. Their breath deepens. Their nervous system relaxes. Their smile becomes real. And all you did was remain. You stayed true. You didn't reach out. You held your ground. And in that, you gave them the space to feel safe again. This is the highest form of masculine energy. It doesn't invade. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't pretend. It simply holds a sacred space. It says you are free to be all of yourself here. I won't distort your softness. I won't punish your truth. And this is what makes you unforgettable. You are not trying to be seen. You are simply being real. And realness is rare. Stillness is rare. Safety is rare. And you've become all three. This is not about perfection. It's about presence. This is not about getting attention. It's about being a living example of what peace can look like. This is not about pleasing others. It's about standing in your truth so clearly that others feel inspired to return to their own. You don't shake people with noise. You move them with your silence. You don't excite people with charm. You awaken something ancient inside them. Something sacred. Something soft. So let your presence continue to be what it already is. Don't hide it. Don't dim it. Don't let it be mistaken for something shallow. It's not shallow. It's deep water. It's what happens when a man returns to himself and finds that he is still whole. And those who are ready to swim in deep waters, they will come closer. You will notice this month that your encounters are different. They won't always involve words. They'll happen in glances, in long moments of eye contact that don't feel like curiosity, but feel like recognition. A woman may look at you, and before she even knows why, her soul already understands. She sees something she thought didn't exist anymore. She feels something she didn't know she was waiting for. She doesn't see a perfect man. She sees a man who is fully here, a man who has been through fire and come out honest, a man whose strength does not push, but protects, a man whose beauty is not performance, but truth, and it didn't come from trying harder. It came from becoming clearer, from no longer chasing, from no longer needing, from no longer acting. You are now a man whose face is remembered not because it's pretty, but because it's peaceful. You are remembered not because of your charm, but because of your clarity. You're not just noticed, you're recognized, not by eyes, but by spirit, because your energy no longer lies. It no longer demands. It simply speaks the truth without needing a voice. You're not just beautiful now. You're meaningful. Your presence carries something sacred. It's no longer about attraction. It's about assignment. God has taken what the world tried to twist: your fire, your passion, your power, and instead of letting it be wasted on shallow things, He has turned it into something holy. He waited until you were ready, until your heart was clean, until your silence had shaped you, until your roots were deep. And now He lets the world see, not to make you famous, but to make His process undeniable. You're not shining because it's your time to be admired. You're shining because you've become someone who can hold the light without letting it burn anyone. You've become the answer to silent prayers. You've become a reflection of what's possible when a man becomes whole again. You carry peace like a flame that doesn't scorch. You carry beauty like a truth that doesn't need approval. And you carry presence like a map, one that quietly shows others the way back to themselves. You are no longer ruled by desire. You are ruled by purpose. And that kind of beauty, that kind of presence, it is rare, and it is unforgettable.